So this is the Zone 3 project, and this picture is when we were in Philadelphia. It's a picture of Beretti advancing the ball over midfield into Zone 3. And he's not being put under tight pressure, and that's why he's advancing the ball forward. There are sometimes teams will sit back and allow us to advance the ball all the way from Zone 1 into Zone 3. There's going to be times where it's going to be really hard to get the ball into Zone 3. And typically you don't see teams advance the ball from Zone 1 to Zone 2 to Zone 3 sequentially like that. Usually it's 1 to 2 to 4 to 3. In this case, Beretti had some free space, advanced the ball up the field into Zone 3 onto our side of the field. Now in Zone 3, it's always an option that you can put the ball in the corner. But in Zone 3, we want to isolate and we want to pick on certain sub zones inside of Zone 3, which I'll show you here in a few minutes. But when we have the ball and advance the ball into Zone 3, although there was a lot we could do in Zone 2, we are now in a little bit more of a confined area. By dropping the ball back into Zone 2, we're now further away from our goal, but might have an option in order to push it forward a little bit or to draw them out. You might see me do this in futsal frequently, but if I'm ever near like midcourt and everyone is all packed in on their side of the court, they're all packed in, I might just like backpedal on the ball and pull it out a little bit and just sit on the ball and wait until someone steps to me. And then there might be times where I pass the ball square and the defenders still just man mark me and stay out of the play. And I might just stay where I'm at. I might not even advance myself into the play and allow them to have a 3v3 on that side of the court because the defender was opening up space for everyone else. So in Zone 3, you're more condensed to a certain area. And this is where a lot of our futsal runs come in handy. The futsal runs really don't work as much in Zone 2. It's great. It'll help free up a little bit of space. But in Zone 2, we really want to look for a few different things that we've already discussed, and I don't want to go back into. But in Zone 3, you want to be able to clear open space so we can attack each one of the pockets. And I'll explain that a little bit more too. But by having the ball in Zone 3, this is where some of our futsal runs might make sense. The fields that we play on are not super big arena soccer fields like you see in the MASL. Some of the fields are really big. They might not be that big. But once we advance the ball past midfield, defensively, even if the other team were to advance the ball over midfield, this is now where a shot could be very dangerous. And there were times where I wish we would have stepped harder to shooters and even people that have scored from far out against us before that can bang the ball, and we just didn't step hard enough. So moving through here, moving into the exact defensive principles of Zone 3, the objectives that we want to see if the other team were to advance the ball into Zone 3, as you see, this player is advancing the ball into Zone 3. Shipley's marking him. Beretti's got this guy over here. We want to have 5 players behind the ball as our top priority. If they have a player, and I'm looking at this picture right here, if they have a player way down on their own side of the field, and I say, hey, we're man marking, you're not going to just stay with your man on the other side of the field when the ball has been advanced. It's not how it works. The first thing you want to do is get 5 players behind the ball. Recognize who your man is, but to have 5 behind the ball. Then, if your man is behind the ball, we can always drop back and get him later, right? But getting 5 behind the ball at all times is really important. So in this case, if Beretti's man were to drop way over here, Beretti wouldn't follow him. Beretti would stay still like knowing that, hey, that's my guy, that's my guy, that's my guy, that's my guy. And if he were to run all the way to this side of the field, Beretti would just like shadow and move to the left, move to his right a bit, but still know that that's his man, but still being behind the ball. Because by being behind the ball, he might intercept a pass. He might do more good than just being out of the play. So 5 players behind the ball. To block shots, a lot of shots that come from these side, middle, or left, right, and middle pockets. And, for the most part, like a lot of people will let them shoot outside of those areas. But for some people, we want to step closer to them. And you start to notice this very quickly. And you probably, the players that played last year, know specific players that we played against last year that we want to step a little closer to. And if a player starts hitting shots early in the game and is hitting the ball way over the goal and not even coming close, then I might let them take those further shots. But do recognize a shot that's just slightly off target is then bouncing back into the play and could end up leading to a rebound goal. So 5 players behind the ball, blocking shots, and then protecting advancement into the pockets, the right, the center, and left pockets, which I'll discuss here. So this is a more detailed breakdown of each of the zones. We build the ball out of zone 1, which, you can take everything in zone 4 and flip it over to zone 1 if you want. That's really what we're protecting if we're defending in here, right? But let's say we advance the ball into zone 2. It's something where there's not much that can be done in these areas. There's not a lot. That's kind of almost still even zone 1. You get trapped if you're in here. You don't have much of an option if a defender steps to you. So once you advance the ball over the yellow line into 2, when we get the ball even further into 3, there starts to be a little bit of a breakdown here. These shots in 3B, if someone's straight on, the goalkeeper, and a lot of times, can see exactly what's going on. The goalkeeper is in the center of the goal, and there might be some traffic, but a lot of shots that happen in this 3B end up getting blocked. They never end up making it to the goal. That's not saying we just let them shoot in 3B, but if they were to advance the ball into the center pocket, that would be a lot more dangerous than a shot out here. So outside the yellow line, all the way to midfield, right? For a lot of players, we are okay with them taking shots out there. Where it becomes dangerous, where you see a lot of goals being scored and defenders are a little nonchalant about it, is if you have the ball in 3A or 3C and advance the ball in these side pockets over here. You'll see players get the ball, get their man, push it by them, and take a shot once they get in this pocket. And that actually bleeds into, it's not just zone 4, it bleeds into zone 3. Because a shot from right here, right, that's dangerous. Because a shot that goes near and doesn't go on target then bounces into the middle here. Just the geometry of it. You take a shot and it goes near, it goes here. A shot that goes far, right, is now hung up in the right corner. Same from the right side, right? If we advance the ball and someone gets a shot right here, anything short ends up bouncing right in this box for someone to just bury by crashing the boards. So we want to prevent, if you're looking at this, protect the pockets, right? Protect a pass or a player receiving a ball in here. Protect that. If you see a player get the ball and he starts squaring you up in 3C, like he's going to take you down the line, do you realize if he gets in here and takes a shot, that's going to do some damage. Now, if he gets in the right corner, like pushes it too far out and he gets in the right corner and tries shooting, that's not as, there's not as high of a likelihood of the shot going in, but there is also a high likelihood of a rebound from a shot from this right corner right here. So when someone has a ball in one of these 3 subzones inside zone 3, just recognizing, hey, look, this is a very dangerous, these 3 pockets right here are pretty dangerous. And you see a lot of goals scored in these areas. You might see someone in 3A set up and play a ball into the center pocket for that target to hold the ball up, and then a shot being played. You don't see a lot of like 3B to center pocket to the target being held. A lot of times you see like a 3C to the center pocket, or just pushing the ball down the line. And we'll discuss that defensively, these priorities right here. So if you get subbed on mid shift, all right, let's say the goalkeeper gets the ball. Excuse me. Let's say the goalkeeper gets the ball, rolls it out. They advance the ball into zone 2, and we didn't put a ton of pressure on them. And they complete a pass and get into zone 3. Let's say you just got subbed on and you recognize what's going on. The first step is find the ball, right? If you sub on and the ball's right here and you're looking for a man, that doesn't do anything. If you get subbed on and the ball's right here, let's stop the ball, find the ball, find out where the ball is. If the ball's back here, what you would do is different than if the ball is down here. So find the ball, look for the ball, get behind the ball. So, if you get subbed on and you're here and the ball is all the way down here, doesn't matter if your man's there, just sprint and get behind the ball. Recognize that's your man hanging out where 2A is, but I'm going to get behind the ball here in zone 3. Find your man. From there, once you get behind the ball, you can find your man and communicate that. Don't just hold it in your head, because what happens so many times, people, excuse me, had a little congestion. Once you get behind the ball and you don't communicate, hey, I got number 10, hey, I got number 9, hey, I got number 6, whatever. If you don't say anything and the person who's defending the ball thinks that they have that guy, but they haven't said anything either, then there becomes a mix-up and someone ends up wide open, which happens at all levels, but it shouldn't happen. All it takes is quick communication. When you're on the field, talk. You're not going to offend me. You're not going to hurt my feelings, right? I've been called things that I just don't even want to repeat, right? People have yelled at me on the field. People have screamed at me. And especially even like at this level, like it's not the highest level, but expect people to take it seriously. Expect them to tell you things. Expect them to communicate with you. Now, you don't want to purposely try and drag someone down, but in the moment, right, as communication needs to be quick, sometimes you're yelling at someone. Don't get all hurt and be like, hey, why'd you yell at me in the middle of the game? I'm going to yell at you in the middle of the game. And then when it stops, I'll come over and be like, hey, look, no problem. Like, I'm just in the moment. That's how things work at the higher levels. You got to be loud. You have to communicate. And when you don't communicate, if you're the quietest person off the field, I don't care. Once you step foot on the field, you need to communicate. In high school, I would go the entire day without talking to anyone and then get on the soccer field and be the loudest person you could hear a mile down the road. It doesn't matter your personality, right? You have to be sharp. You have to be mentally there and you have to communicate. Plain and simple. So once you get behind the ball, find your man and communicate that. Maybe I'll even add that. And communicate that. Communicate who your man is. So, hey, I got this. And just constant talking. Something I like, Axel does this a lot, right? I don't know, whenever I sub off or something, Axel might say something short, like positive. Whenever I am on the field, even if it's just like me talking, he might say, hey, great communication. He's always saying something, even if it's not even right there in that moment, right? Hey, good step. Hey, Josh, there's a guy behind you, right? 3 steps behind you. And very specific communication. Put a name and a direction on it. So communicate that. And we're going to talk about communication later. Communication is a lot harder than people think, but we'll talk about that at another time. Get goal side of your man. It's not good enough to be with your man, to get goal side of him. Brian said this in training the other night, right? Being with your man's great. Being able to hug him is great, but being goal side is even more important. That ball, if there's a goalie in goal and the ball hits off the boards and bounces back, even if you're touching your man, if the man is goal side, he's going to score. He's going to get to it quickly. So be goal side. And what it also means to be marking your man means at arm's length. So you can reach out and touch him, right? There are times when the ball is maybe further back down the field where you can shadow him a little less tight. But when we're in zone 3, we need to be man marked tight. Actually, don't know about other people, but talking keeps me focused and locked in on the game. Can be helpful if you're having a tough day and keep mentally checked down. Exactly. I don't know. And there's something small that I recognize this about Axel. Like I'll sub off and I'm just like, hey, good stuff out there. Good stuff. Or even just like throughout the gameplay when I'm on the same shift as him communicating, right? Just saying little things or even praising things, or even calling out people for certain things. I don't know. I could go through many different examples, but that was just one that popped into my head quickly. If the ball is advanced further up the field than your man, get behind the ball and keep tabs on him. I mentioned this before in the beginning, right? Even if your man's hanging out in zone 2, if the ball's in zone 3, get behind the ball and just keep an eye on your man. Be like, hey, look, he's just hanging out back there. I don't know what he's doing, but he's hanging out. I'm going to be behind the ball and provide help defense support. think Beretti mentioned this the other day. Feel the same way, collective spirit. Yep, same with Miles. Beretti mentioned this the other day. I think in a small group chat that I was in, that the basketball terminology of help defense, if your man gets beat, if you get beat, that the help defense side, if someone's sliding, trying to then get your man while you drop back, everyone's going to get beat. Everyone's going to lose 1v1s at times, even though I'm sure Ken doesn't think he'll ever lose a 1v1. People will get beat. People will get turned. People will make dumb mistakes. I'll probably say something. I'll be the first one to admit when I make the mistake too. And you can call me out on it too. But with that, please make sure that you are goal side of your man and making sure you keep tabs of him. Even if he's roaming. If you get goal side and you're like, hey, I'm goal side, my man's up there, I'm good. But then you forget about him and he like makes a run behind you and you don't guard him, that's your fault. All right. And we're going to talk about it when we go through the film. If the ball is played backwards to your man, so let's say the ball is in zone 3 and your man's just hanging out in 2B, and you get behind the ball and you're hanging out here and they play the ball to 2B, boom, you're going to be the first person to step. Don't let this guy, let's say 3A and 3B are actual players, right? And we have a man marking him and then our guy's up there, right? I'm sitting here, they play him. What could be tempting is this guy that's on 3A, it's tempting for that guy to leave his man and run at the ball. Don't do it. Stay with your man, because then this guy will step up and mark him. And then 3B might play the ball in the corner and make a run. Then you have to chase your man down. You might go an entire shift and just be able to not even touch the ball, running around, get the ball, pass back to your goalkeeper. Goalkeeper is able to distribute and you get off the field. Different principles: identify those dynamic players and shooters, the players that can end up doing some damage. And it's really easy to identify these players. You can tell by the way they work on the ball. You're not going to get surprised by a dynamic player or someone that shoots. A lot of times, someone's going to take a shot and it's a weak shot, or takes a shot and it's awful. Hey, I'm going to step to this guy. This guy takes 3 bad touches in a row. I'm going to allow him to take a little bit of I guess, allow him to take shots from further out, but then also knowing, hey, I might want to press this guy, and by pressing him, he might cough the ball up. But step to block the shots and respect the dynamic players. If you're super tight on those, if you're super tight, I'll mention 2 players that I know all you guys know, Gavin and Ken. If you step super tight to them, they're going to create separation from you. And if you get too close, they might make you pay for it. And what people do is people have never seen, it's not just those 2, but if you've never seen a player like that in a game and you step too hard to him and get beat, the next time you're going to respect him a little bit more and stay back. But what can happen, what happened last season too, was you get beat 3 or 4 times in a row and you still do the same dumb stuff and step to him tight, right? Give him some respect. So don't lunge to win the ball. Okay, we've done this. I've done this. Unless you're 100% sure you will win it. Because what a good target forward, what a good player will do is you'll step to get around them. They'll step and body you, even a short little nudge, and you're now ahead of the ball. They receive their back foot on their back foot, turn and go forward, right? A lot of times you don't need to win the ball. They might lose the ball from passing it. You don't have to win the ball off. Now, if you know you can get to it 100%, that you're going to get to it, then step hard and win the ball. But you don't need to win the ball off their foot. Okay, when you lunge in, if it's someone that isn't as quick as you might be able to make that decision. But if it's a decent player, you cannot lunge into that ball. They will make you pay. Especially if your man has his back turned to goal. Force him backwards. If the target forward gets the ball, just stand between him and the goal. Don't have to win it from him. The second you try stepping around him, turns, boom, shot. I learned that the hard way in playing futsal. I learned the hard way in playing arena soccer, right? One of my very first arena soccer game ever was against the Harrisburg Heat. And someone played a ball into, I'll pull up, someone pulled a ball into, played a ball into this right pocket right here. I was on his back and tried going, let's say he's right where the R is. I tried coming around this way to intercept the pass being played from him down the line. He literally just bodied me. He stepped in front of the ball, received the ball on his back foot here, took a touch, boom, banged it far post, goal. My coach yelled at me. He yelled, "You don't need to win those balls. You don't need to do it." And the rest of the game, when I shadowed him, I was a defender, I just let him get the ball, right? Unless I knew that I could win it. But I'd let him get it and I'd hold him up and I wouldn't let him turn. And then if they laid it off to someone and that player got the ball and scored, that's not my fault. That's not my fault. My guy didn't score. I let him hold the ball up. Make sure that, you know, if he turns to shoot, you're going to step and block the shot, but you don't need to win that ball from him. Oh, did I say lounge instead of lunge?
You wrote it.
Oh, don't lounge. Yeah, there you go. Oh man, there you go. Thanks for that. That's why I keep you around, Brian. I appreciate you.
Spell check doesn't pick up actual words. That's the problem.
Did the meeting disconnect? It didn't disconnect for me. Okay, so left pocket. There are a low percentage of lefties just in general. Now, there's a lot of decent left-footed players, but knowing that, what happens a lot of times is the right pocket gets up and it gets exploited a lot more than the left pocket. So if you're looking at this, a lot of times when players get the ball in a 1v1 situation in 3A and they're marked up, they'll play the ball to 3C for then someone to attack that right pocket. Now, if you're right-footed and you push the ball out in the left pocket, right, you're not going to run around the ball and hit it with your right. You're going to have to hit it with your left. And a lot of players will then cut it back and play it the other way. Some players will take a left-footed shot anyway, but knowing that that shot's going to be weaker. So a lot of shots come from this area right in here. And what happens is if players are right-footed and they're attacking 3A going into the left pocket, they cut into their right into the center pocket. So recognizing that, right, if you're in a situation 1v1 and you're just saying, oh, he's right-footed, I'm going to take away the boards from him, right? Know that if he's really quick and dynamic and you're taking away the boards, he's going to cut into his right and take a right-footed shot. So there might be some situations, once you get stuck into moving into zone 3 and zone 4, you might want to consider where you're out in the field. And if a player is like standing right on this 3A and pushes the ball towards the boards this way, right, you might want to step hard to him and let him get the ball stuck into this left pocket near the boards, rather than just openly letting him advance the ball on his right foot into that center pocket. I know it seems like common sense, but you'd be amazed what happens defensively in a lot of situations. So knowing that, you know, you may want to cut players, right-footed players might want to cut to that center pocket and get the ball on the right foot. And that goes for us too. If we're attacking and you're right-footed, and we look at the statistics of how many shots were taken from the left pocket, and there's a ton of left-footed shots being taken by non-lefties, and none of them even creating offensive opportunities, maybe we don't take those shots next time, right? I said a lot in futsal, right? Why are we taking more left-footed shots than right-footed shots when we have right-footed players? Right? It may work sometimes, that's great, but the percentage of right-footed shots we should be taking should be higher if that's your dominant foot, right? So with that, like if you're off balance hitting a left-footed first-time shot and you're not left-footed, then probably not the best opportunity for you, right? And then the one time I yell at you as you're doing it, you're probably going to score and you're going to be like, oh, why are you yelling? I scored that goal. Like, that's a dumb shot, even though you scored. It was a dumb shot. You shouldn't have taken it. So the center pocket, we want to prevent the ball into the center pocket and making sure that if someone plays the ball from 3C to the center pocket, or even 3B or 3A into here, we have to follow our runners. First person I think of is a target forward from Philadelphia. A lot of balls played in that center pocket right there. Guys leave their man. he then rolls it off to a guy and he takes a shot right here for an easy goal.